good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Energy Realities Podcast. I am David Blackman here in Texas, along with our co host this morning, Dr. Tammy Nemeth, who is in the UK today. How are you today?
I'm doing well, but I'm freezing because it's super cold. I don't know what
Oh,
happened to the sunshine. It disappeared. So much for the
well,
solar panels.
yeah, it never happens in the UK. What's going on? I don't get it. Anyway, I'm sorry. I hate to make fun of the UK's weather, but you can make fun of mine anytime. Then we have Stu Turley in his second home in Abilene, Texas, I believe, this morning. How are you?
Primary home, but we'll have some fun.
Okay.
My wife was in a panic though at our lake house. A bear was in the backyard, and so it's like we're not talking small bear. It's holy cow Batman type stuff. So buckle up.
Did
Yeah,
she
we
try to
don't have
feed it?
bears.
No, we don't. You don't feed the bears because bears are like Democrats. Once you feed them, they destroy everything, and Democrats do the same thing. So,
Great analogy.
We don't have bears in North Texas, but we do have bobcats. So I have to keep an eye on my cat Max when I let him outside. And with us also today from Bulgaria, Irina Slav. How are you this morning?
I'm great, thank you, David. It's real spring here. It's actually a bit strange. It's so warm and pleasant and lovely.
Oh,
Sorry,
nice.
Tammy. I'll try to send some good weather your way.
Yeah, please do.
I will try. It's wonderful.
Well, I just noticed I got my camera in reverse somehow. All my maps are backwards. Oh well, we'll just have to go with it today. I don't know where to go change that, but here we are. We're another day, another week, another Monday morning, with the president of the United States having rejected the exact same proposal from Iran that they sent in 4 times now. I don't see any difference between it and what they were proposing a month ago, so I'm not sure why these negotiations continue. They're obviously not going anywhere. There is no peaceful solution to this, and that's really unfortunate. But of course, oil prices are going up this morning in response to the president's latest rejection of the same plan. And so it's like this crazy madness we've got happening now and have had happening for too long. The gas prices are up. Everybody's mad. And I don't know where we go from here. Stu, I'm going to let you kick it off with your weekly update on the Iranian conflict.
Well, I think we're at a really interesting point. I wrote an article because there's satellite imagery showing that there is enough evidence to look at the potential that they have opened the taps on Kark Island, and there is a huge oil slick in the Persian Gulf. And when you take a look, that they are having some serious problems, and you look at the size of that slick, rather than shutting in their low pressure system, they're out of storage. And you take a look at, I also wrote another article. I think that the only solution that President Trump will take is no nuclear material programs and a financial system put on them very much like the Venezuelan control system. Those are the two, I think, holding systems. And I think that's the only way that you're going to have a Iranian money going to the Iranian people with controls on it, like we did on Venezuela. This will be the third one. I did not know that the Bush system was still in place on Iraq. Iraq is through the U.S. Fed. That goes back to other people. Since the Fed is controlled by a private organization and other people, that system is going to go away. So, my personal opinion, the only way we're going to see an end to the straight open, closed, straight, open, closed. No, wait a minute, time out. Is if there is a monetary control system put in place, but that is going to have to be the elimination of the entire IRGC. I don't know where it stands.
Well, any further commentary on that? I'm not sure I disagree with any of that, but it's a
tough
not
one.
a quagmire. It's only been going on for 2 months. You can't call it a quagmire yet, but we get a year from now, then it's quagmire. Which President Trump wasn't supposed to be a president to get us involved in one of these things. But
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, you know,
I'm
the
glad
other
to see-
thing that
I
Go
am
ahead.
glad to see the UK get one ship with a water desalination system working. I believe it's the HMS Dragon or something. One of their small ships they sent through. I believe it had 4 men on board. I'm just kidding. But it is kind of nice that they did send one ship.
Well, that was the
Yeah.
Dragon, right? Isn't it, Tammy? I think.
I don't know.
Um,
I'm not following what ships they're sending because they have so few that are in very good operational standing. Yeah. And I feel bad because, you know, the soldiers in the British military are incredibly good and loyal. And I certainly wouldn't want to make them look bad because of what this government is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not
really
responsible for their boss's decisions. So
That's true.
I know. I just don't want to
And they
humiliate
can't
them.
control public policy. Yeah. No, and you have wonderful people in the military, United States, same thing, but they can't control public policy and the decision making of politicians. And, you know, it's just the way it is. It's the way democracies function. The other thing
It's
that's
sad
happened
because I just wanted to put this in here that as an anecdote was that we've been watching the Horatio Hornblower series. And, you know, you see the 18th century British Navy that was so incredibly powerful and, you know, doing all this amazing stuff. And then to see what it's devolved into and what a loss of power and prestige and for what. And it's sort of like the, you know, the Labor government here is so anti-military that, you know, it's very difficult to have something that's functioning. At the same time, they want to participate in all of these different new EU defense programs. So what that means in practice, I don't know, but I think there's going to be a lot of money changing hands, and where that goes, nobody knows.
well, money talks, doesn't it? So that brings me, I think this is a good opening to go to the local elections that happened in the UK, which were without any question a massive repudiation of the Labour government, but not necessarily a turn to the Tories or reform, because we had this surge in the Green Party's representation in these local governments, although I don't think they took majority in many of them. But Tammy, I wonder what you think the major implications of those local elections is going to be. Can
Well, you know,
Starmer, for instance, can Starmer survive an outcome like this?
I don't know. There's a lot of forces, you know, getting their knives ready to kind of stab him in the back and get him out. Probably one of the prime movers behind that is Ed Miliband, but Angela Rayner, who is a tax evader, a proven tax evader who got punted from cabinet. She's like, oh, I think I would be the best leader. And I'm going to, you know, align with this other guy who got punted, Burnham or something. And then there's some other people who are saying, no, I'd be the best one and you need to go and whatever. So the gangs behind are kind of circling around, you know, like you would see hyenas or wolves going around the prey. But what that will mean, I don't know. They still have another 2.5 years. So does it make sense to swap the leader now when whoever takes over will, because they're not going to change course. In fact, they'll probably triple down on everything that's been destroying the economy and everything. So they'll triple down. It'll be even worse. And they won't have a new leader like they did in Canada, where, you know, Trudeau was terrible. And then they parachute Carney in. And then suddenly, oh, it's all new. And then he wins with this stupid elbows up thing. So, you know, from a strategic point of view, it would make sense to just keep Starmer there as the sort of lightning rod of discontent and then have a new leader come in 6 months before the election. So I don't know.
So-
But I just wanted to add, though, that the Reform UK had over 1,450 seat gains.
Yeah.
So, the Labour went down 1,400, Reform went up 1,450, and the Greens increased about 200.
Yeah.
So for the people who, for whatever reason, would never, ever vote Reform, they went Green.
Right.
That's even
Right. But
worse.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's even worse than Labour. They're green. It's
Yes.
in the name.
I know they're
Yeah.
and their leader is a crazy sort of Islamic sympathizer, anti-Semitic. They were running in the ridings where they won a lot. It's illegal in the UK, illegal for men to go with the women and tell them how to vote. You can't go into the polling booth with them. You can't point to say, no, you must check this box. And they were doing it. There was over 57 complaints in ridings or councils, election booths, whatever, around the country saying this was happening and it's being investigated. Well, what's going to happen? Who knows?
I had
Yeah.
I had an interview last week with Doomberg, who masquerades as a green chicken, and it's already had 40,000 people watch it and listen to it on everything else. And I don't agree with him all the time, but he had a very valid point that kind of shocked me. He said Ed Miliband stands to be the next prime minister, and I was like, whoa, I did not have that on my bingo card. And he explained he's the only one that didn't have ties to certain people that are being investigated. But he is a Muppet with the brain power of a potato bed. And he goes, it doesn't matter. He's about the cleanest thing they got. And I'm like, whoa.
I know. And, we all know how crazy he is with respect to net zero. So if he's prime minister, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like whatever
energy security.
Yeah. Whatever kind of guardrails there are that's sort of keeping him from going full blown. And it's not like he's not trying to go full blown crazy, but that would be off if he's prime minister. So
training wheels would be off. Training wheels of sanity would be off.
The brakes would be off. Yeah.
The one thing that I wanted to point out about this is that, yes, it was a big surge for Reform and a big dip for Labor. But if you go through and add up the numbers, I think if you take this as a proxy for a national election, okay, which it isn't, but if you did that and you go through and add up the numbers for each party, you would still have Labor in a position to form a coalition government, majority government. If they got together with the Greens and the Liberal Democrats, they'd have about 53 or 54% of the members' total voting. And Reform and the Conservatives only add up to 47, 48%. So it was a big, huge repudiation of Labor, but it wasn't necessarily a sea change, an indicator of a sea change in attitudes, pro-conservative attitudes, I guess, or pro-populist, however you want to put it. It's encouraging, but yeah, as you say, they've still got 2.5 years to inflict as much damage as they possibly can, and they're dedicated to doing it, and so it's still a tough situation for Brits. For the next few years until 2020. When is it the next one scheduled? May 2029, I think, or I think that's when the next national elections are required to be held, but they could call one earlier.
They could call one early. I think it would be strategically stupid to call an early one at this point. Because some people are like, oh, well, we need a new election. Well, they don't have to.
Yeah.
And they have so many MPs, and the MPs know that if they were to call an election, they'd lose. And the one thing MPs want is their pension. They want their cushy job.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway, it was an interesting thing, and I think it's it's encouraging, and so we'll just have to keep praying for UK and hope it's going well at the end. I also wanted to talk about some comments. Oh, go ahead. But somebody else.
Sorry, David, can I just add one
Yeah,
thing there? One of the there's two interesting things about this UK, the local elections, is that normally the local elections don't necessarily reflect the national politics. It'll be, you're concerned about the council hasn't been doing their job, and it's more, there's a lot more independents who tend to run in the local council elections. But this time it was very much a reflection on what's happening nationally. And one of the biggest outcomes was in Wales. So Wales is sort of like a separate entity from England, and they have a parliament that they set up, kind of, instead of a national they have their own kind of Welsh parliament, and that has been Labour like forever, since it was first established 25 or whatever years ago. It went to the Nationalist Party. The Labour just it was a catastrophic loss. Yeah. And the leader of the Labour Party lost her seat and she resigned. And so the Nationalists basically are pretty, almost a majority. I think they're like 5 seats off a majority or something like that. So the Nationalists have basically taken the Welsh Parliament there. So that was an interesting outcome.
Go Wales.
Yeah, I thought they have fallen.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, that was how did things go in Scotland? In the Scottish vote, do we know?
I think they went SNP, the Nationalist Party, there too. Even though they had all of these controversies and whatnot, the Scottish tend to be very much left of center.
Yeah. And
Labour was expecting to, put a real big dent in the SNP, but they were pretty much, the SNP managed to pull it out, is my understanding. So.
Well, okay, so there's that. I wanted to just mention an interview that Chevron CEO Mike Wirth did on Friday with CNBC, in which he seemed to be projecting higher gas prices in the U.S. in the weeks to come as we move into summer driving season. He's obviously right about that. Prices always go up when we get into summer driving season in the United States, and that's going to be problematic for people. And then we have this evolving situation. The longer this thing in Iraq continues to linger, the oil markets are continue to price in a quick resolution to this, and an assumption, I think, that prices are just going to go back to where they were on February 28th as soon as the conflict ends and the Strait of Hormuz is reopened. Yeah. And there does seem, though, to be a rising realization, I think, at least among experts, as we call them here in the United States, that there probably isn't going to be a quick resolution to the conflict. And even when there is, you're not going to have this precipitous fall in prices back to February 28th levels. So I just wanted to bring that up because it seemed that Mr. Wirth was really kind of trying to, set the stage for another significant round of gas price increases. We're already at $4.58 average in the United States per gallon. You don't have a lot of room left to run before you get to $5, which is where we were in the summer of 2022 under Joe Biden. And that seems really problematic for the Trump administration if we get to that level, because that's it's emotional kind of thing with American drivers. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm not sure there's much else to say about it other than we're not finished with rising gas prices in the United States, just as Europe's not finished with them. And I wonder what the situation in Europe is with gas, not just gas prices, but also jet fuel and how the airlines are adjusting to the higher prices, because we see it happening in the United States. And I just wonder what the situation is in Europe. Do y'all have anything you want to add to that?
They're saying there's no shortage of jet fuel.
No shortage. Good.
Brussels
How's
is saying, and I think airlines are saying the same, but all those
good?
cancelled flights must be just, good planning or something.
Okay.
I think they'll keep lying until the shortages actually arrive.
Yeah.
It's really strange that people don't care. I mean, I have friends planning summer travel abroad by plane, like nothing has changed.
Yeah. I hope they're
People
not
have no
going
idea.
on a cruise with where you might get hantavirus. Your friends.
That was some
That's not
timing
funny.
with this virus, wasn't it? Just when
Yes.
fuel supply is getting tight, now we have a new virus scare that might discourage a lot of people from traveling.
Yeah.
It's an interesting coincidence.
It really is. And now there's a Princess cruise supposedly with 125 people having contracted
With another
the virus.
virus.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's with these
Amazing.
viruses? Yeah. They're very, very strange.
What do you think about the viruses, dude?
I could care less. If the viruses are a fake thing again, and I'm not falling for it, have a great day. And the thing that's really interesting is California is on the edge of a cliff. And David, you bring up the point about gasoline. California has done an outstanding job following the EU, the CARB mechanisms, and they love the EU. Gavin Newsom is one of the best leaders in the world that loves to just get out there and have a lot of fun, and he's leading the charge, wants to be the climate activist good Lord, that man is worse than Ed Miliband, because Ed Miliband at least has an original thought in his head, and Gavin Newsom has taken out California. California cannot import anymore. Well, what has happened to the teapot refineries in Asia, South Korea, and everything else? They're starving for oil right now. So this next week with President Trump in China, we're going to see some interesting things. That is going to be pretty interesting. In fact, there's a rumor that President Putin may be there, and I think that would be an absolute hoot to see President Putin and President Xi and President Trump sit down. I would like to see every EU leader's head explode if that happened. I think it'd be absolutely great entertainment.
Yeah, but heads explode when they're filled with something.
Yeah, but if it's filled with air, just like a balloon popping.
Yeah.
And when you sit back and take a look, I think $9 gasoline, it's already spiked to $8 to $9 in LA. And when you take a look at the EU is down to just a couple of refineries. You take a look at the the UK down to a couple of refineries. The UK banning, and then the North Sea being shut down, and then you have Norway expanding the same oil field to supply natural gas to the EU is absolutely a hoot. You can't buy this kind of entertainment in writing for energy. And I look for things other than the Strait of Hormuz.
Do we expect Ed Miliband to ultimately approve another round of drilling in the North Sea, Tammy, or is it just not going to happen?
I doubt it.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
they'll fast track approval for solar or wind or whatever, and now they're talking about, because when you have all that stuff, you need the transmission lines, that they're just going to build the transmission lines and run roughshod over people's property and concerns and stuff. So I see that more likely than anything.
And batteries. I just read today that, so-called co-location installation, solar plus batteries and wind plus batteries, is going to surge by 400% or something by 2030. And imagine that the best locations across Europe, as in the continent, are Germany, the UK, and Bulgaria, with Bulgaria and the UK sharing the number 2 spot
What?
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I guess we have a lot of solar, and we apparently will have some really good subsidies for even more solar. And the UK, I guess, is because of all the wind turbines. So we're the second best place in Europe for batteries, and I can't begin to tell you how happy this makes me.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. And so that brings me to another thing that happened this last week. The USGS announced this massive new lithium find in the Appalachia region of the United States, from South Carolina all the way up through Maine, in this mountainous forested country, and had big ballyhoo about it, big public announcement and all this favorable media. And I wonder if any of that's going to actually be produced. And I wrote a piece about it at the Daily Caller, talking about the fact that, yeah, it's a lot of lithium, but there's a lot of lithium in other places in the United States. Exxon's drilling these wells in southern Arkansas that you're going to produce the lithium from the brine in the Smackover Formation. It's a lot cheaper, a lot easier to access. And you have stuff out in Nevada. You have resources everywhere. My question is, and I wonder if anyone has an opinion about it, we see all these, we've been waiting for the step change in battery technology to come about for 35 years. And, it's always just around the corner: solid state batteries, liquid metal batteries, sodium ion batteries now that Elon Musk is using in Teslas. Will any of this lithium ever be produced? It takes 29 years to start a new mining operation in the United States on average over the last few decades. We ever going to produce any of that lithium from these mountains, hard rock mining kind of operation in a region that's spread out over 1,000 miles? I honestly don't think any of that lithium is ever going to be produced. That's my opinion, because I do think we're going to get to a different technology. I think the EV industry simply has to have a different technology for its batteries. And so does the stationary battery industry, because you've got this 3-hour discharge with the current technology that just really doesn't do the job that needs to be done in these battery backed up installations. I just wonder what y'all's sense is about what the market for new lithium resources really is globally, because it does feel like we're about to have a different technology kind of take over the EV and the stationary battery segments. And but that's just my opinion, and I've always been really skeptical of it, but I think we're getting to the point where innovation is actually going to make all these lithium resources kind of obsolete. Anybody have an opinion about that?
That's an interesting view. And it's like with all of these things, there's a lot of very interesting, innovative technologies that have been introduced in the lab. And there hasn't been so many that have been developed commercially. And there's a huge leap between what is lab worthy and what is commercially ready. And so it may well be that in the next 5 to 10 years that technology could take off. China's claiming it's got something, who knows? But in the meantime, are they saying that so that the United States and Europe don't develop their own lithium resources and still must be dependent on China's supply chains? So, I mean, on the one hand, you're going to need lithium for other things, not just for the EVs. And do you still, even if it's just for smaller applications or whatever, do you still want to be dependent on that supply chain that could be interrupted when you're upset with that country? So I think it makes sense to develop national resources in that way. But I don't know what, like you said, if the regulations, what are the environmental considerations, what are the activists going to say? Is there going to be litigation that drags it out? Because as we know, any kind of mining, it doesn't matter what it is almost, it takes 10 years to run through the regulatory process in North America and Europe. Europe's longer. So I don't know. Maybe.
Why does it take so long? 10 years. That's a very long time. How long does it take to make all the necessary assessments? I mean, it's not like there are thousands of applications every day.
Well, because the left-wing politicians want it to take that long. I mean, that's how our system's been set up in the United States, is they set up a permitting system that makes it almost impossible to open a new mine intentionally to diminish our mining operations in the U.S. Did the same thing with the nuclear power industry. It takes 15 years to get a new nuclear plant on average permitted, just to get it permitted. And then you've got to get the financing and build the thing and test it and deal with all the lawsuits from the same environmental groups who want a green revolution. You know, it's all the same people who are going to oppose these mines because they're conflict groups, and that's how they raise money, from raising fears about the mining operations. And so my point is that, you know, Exxon's already producing all this lithium in the Smackover. We've already got lithium resources under development in Nevada where nobody's real worried about them. You know, it's easy to produce, it's cheap. Then you have the lithium triangle in South America that's really capable of supplying all of America's and the whole Western world's needs for the next 100 years, you know, through evaporating lithium out of brine down there. And I just see this hard rock mining thing, this, you know, it's a massive, there's no doubt it's a massive resource, but it's so hard to, you'd have to have 24 mines to exploit it really properly over 1,000-mile region in these forested areas where you've got all these wildlife concerns, you've got BLM lands, you have Indian lands, you have all these obstructions to deal with to get a single mining operation up and running. And I think it's wonderful we have the resources. I just don't think we're ever going to get any of it to market just because of the realities of the systems that's set up. And
they should really be investing in the processing facilities because, as you point out, South America produces a lot, and maybe Exxon is going to, and there's different parts of the oil and gas industry where lithium is co-occurring, almost like natural gas is with oil things. And so what the real bottleneck is in the processing of it in order to turn it into something that's usable. And so a lot of that processing has been offshored. It's been offshored to China and their other Southeast Asian affiliates or whatever. So if you're serious about security and you're worried about that supply, then investment should be made in having the processing facilities in order to make use of it instead of just having the raw resource.
That is happening in the United States. It's largely at the spurring of the Trump administration that it's happening. Yeah. And so that's a good thing. It's a positive development. Same thing on rare earth minerals. There's no doubt we have the resources, but it all has to be sent to China to be processed. We have now one facility that can process and refine rare earth minerals, and there's more under development. So those things are happening, and it's a good thing. It's a positive development. Is any of that happening in the EU though? Because the system is harder in the EU than it is even in the United States. And I wonder if any of that's happening. Is it? Apparently not.
So. I'm just going to laugh. They talk, like always, they talk about it. Oh yes, we need to have secure and friendshore and all this kind of thing. But I mean, with all of their new environmental regulations, good luck. I really don't know. I know in Canada, for example, you talk about how long it takes to get regulatory approval in America and in the EU. In Canada, it's just as insane. So, for example, when they were really trying to get what was it, Northern Gateway pipeline built, and so the Enbridge went through the whole process. It cost them $1 billion to run the regulatory gauntlet. They had to do this consultation, that consultation. The National Energy Board at the time opened up for anybody to intervene in the process. So like there were thousands of people from around the world to express their dissatisfaction that oil sands oil would be entering more in the global market. So they spent $1 billion. They went through the process. the National Energy Board gave their approval. It went to cabinet, and that's when the Trudeau government had first been elected, and cabinet turned it down and said, no, we're not building it. So now Mark Carney says, oh, we're going to accelerate the regulatory process. We're going to cut the red tape. We have the Major Projects Office. We really want to pursue these oil pipelines. And so part of the memorandum of understanding with Alberta was that if Alberta went and did all of these things like carbon capture, increase the industrial carbon tax, have the methane thing, all these different things, then maybe Ottawa would help build a pipeline to sort of like what Northern Gateway was up to the north. But the head of the Major Projects Office was before Parliament last week, and she was asked, "Is there any proponent?" And she said, "No one's come forward yet with a project." Well, no kidding. You want to spend $1 billion only to find out in the end that there's been pressures put forward to cabinet that's just going to pull the rug out again. And so consequently, Carney said last week, oh my gosh, red tape is really bad for all regulatory processes for resource development in Canada. So we need to fix it. Let's have a consultation. So he's going to have a 2-month-long consultation to figure out how to cut the red tape. People have been talking for years, myself among them, laying out what needs to be done to cut the red tape. How about starting by repealing legislation that is preventing projects from going forward? Oh, no, I don't know. We can't repeal that legislation, but we'll allow exemptions when we feel like it. So as if, what company, unless they have backing by the federal government or friends of the Liberal Party, are ever going to put a project forward? So yeah, I mean, it's a mess. This is what Western countries have done. They've been led by the nose by environmental groups who care more about climate change than humanity. And this is what you get. That's my rant for today.
Speaking of climate change, there's a comment about that. It's a lie. Why do you think the elites are still paying top dollar for oceanside property? Because they know it's fake. And this reminds me of the news that the IPCC said its worst case scenario, warming scenarios are unrealistic.
Oh, who would have thought?
Yes.
Yeah, what's going to happen now if they have themselves said the scare is not going to happen?
And there's been an absolute news blackout on that story by the mainstream
Roger
media.
Pilkey was talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, zero seconds on any of the major networks in the United States.
And the problem is that extreme worst case scenario, RCP 8.5, it's embedded in the financial services industry.
Right.
So the Network for Greening the Financial System uses that as their business as usual. Bank of Canada, same thing. The banking regulator in Canada uses that as one of the business as usual scenarios that banks have to take into account. So now what are they going to do? Are they going to say, oh,
what
whoops?
are they going to do?
What are they going to do? And so does that not call into question all the elements? I don't know.
Yeah, it's and of course that most extreme scenario was what generated all the media every year when they put out their annual report, right? Everybody, all the media stories just went immediately to that most extreme scenario to create fear in the public and give Al Gore ammunition for his, quarterly diatribes at some global meeting. And so now that's not going to be there anymore. And you wonder what they're going to do with an IPCC report that's based more in at least some semblance of potential reality. It's going to be it's kind of like the EPA's endangerment finding going away. This has been the foundation for the fright scenarios for what? I don't know, 30 years now. And now it's no longer going to exist. So they're going to have a hard time maintaining their narratives, trying to frighten young children into committing suicide in our public schools, which has been happening for 30 years as well. Because they're afraid climate change is going to kill them anyway. It's pitiful. So yeah, that was a huge story. And unfortunately it didn't get any coverage.
Well, they just pretend it didn't happen. I think that's the most likely course of action, since it's not being amplified by the media.
Right.
They can do that. People don't know.
Well, and they can just get some professor at Cornell University or Leeds in England, or, the Rocky what's it called? RMI to dummy up the scenario and put it out there anyway, right? And so you still maintain the fright that way. We have an interesting comment down here, and I wonder what everybody's opinions on it is. Hydrogen gas cars is future. So are hydrogen cars the future, or electric vehicles the future? What is the future? I don't think it's hydrogen. I think it's probably electric vehicles once they get their step change.
I would like to see hydrogen become in that. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I absolutely love the idea of pouring water into a car and everybody ride. But anybody that's ever invented a car that runs on water, turns it to hydrogen, is killed. So, there's something to be said for not dying before your invention makes it to market.
Yeah.
So I like it. Now, the other thing is, when the EU and the UK or the EU was building the hydrogen corridor, and the amount of money that was going to be spent on it, hydrogen is incredibly tough to put into containers. It is a very small molecule, and it escapes. It's kind of like me trying to get away from my wife when she's got something for me to do. I find ways of getting out of the house and go get on my backhoe. Yeah. But when you sit back and try to take a look at hydrogen, why is this dude laughing? I'm not laughing. I think this is kind of fun.
I'm sorry. I laugh at everything.
Well, I'm actually kind of funny I'm a legend in my own mind. But when we sit back and think, I think hydrogen is actually a very good thing. Economically is where you have to sit back and take a look at hydrogen.
Well, you don't want to put it in blimps, though. Okay.
Oh, we're dinosaurs, you guys.
Yay!
I love to be dinosaurs.
Retro Rocket. You're the man. Whoop, he gone. Okay. Why would you delete him? That was funny. Okay.
No, he didn't. He's still there. But about green hydrogen, it's one of the most pro net zero outlets admitted that it's not going to work for Germany because it's going to cost a lot more than they expected previously, like billions and billions more. So what happened to using old natural gas pipelines to ship it from point A to point B as part of this hydrogen pipeline network? Apparently it's not going to be possible as easily as they expected. So the international, the Institute of Energy Economics and Financial Analysis, that's the name. They said green hydrogen is not going to work for Germany.
It's not going to work for anybody. I mean,
it's expensive.
Exactly. If it doesn't work for Germany, how is it going to work for anybody at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, Germany's doing really good. Let's see, blowing up their nuclear reactors, blowing up their lignite mines so they can never go back to coal, kind of like everybody else, and looking at how coal is becoming king again. Oh, let's follow Germany.
Yeah, coal is becoming king again, or it's remaining king. We used another record level of it in 2025, and we're well on the pace to do that again.
You're not blocked yet, Retro Rocket, but I should. Just kidding.
Okay, all right. Retro,
okay,
you're pissing Stu off. You need to stop. Whoop, too late.
Okay, so
stop blocking people. They're not being too mean.
Yeah, Retro cussing or anything.
Yeah, Retro was funny because they called us and me a net zero denier. Oh darn, they caught me. Oh yeah, I deny that destroying reliable energy, tripling electricity prices, and subsidizing Chinese solar panels built from coal is saving the planet. Yeah, I'm guilty.
And what they don't realize is all they're doing is helping all of our algorithms by commenting and liking and watching. So thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's great.
So yeah, and I don't think it's even possible to be. I don't even understand what the term net zero denier actually means. Does anyone actually deny that there's an effort to get to net zero?
Yeah, the urgency of getting to net zero. I think.
Okay. Well, I totally deny that. Funny. Yes, absolutely. But
no,
I'm not denying that the net zero project exists. It obviously exists in the brains of lunatics and retro rockets. So, what next? Okay.
Okay. Can I add something in here? So Irina had a piece last week where I think it was probably, like you said, Irina, one of these breaking news kind of stories, because it was Fatty Birol came into
it was
Canada.
An oil price story.
It was an oil price story where he showed up having a meeting with Mark Carney and said that Canada has a golden opportunity.
Oh, yes, I remember it now. Yeah.
Right. A golden opportunity to help the world, help its European partners, help Asia by getting more oil and gas onto the global market. You're right. It is a golden opportunity. I think Canada's going to squander it like they did in 2022. So, but I'll be pleasantly surprised if something positive happens on to the West Coast. But I'm grateful that there's the pipeline to the south, with Trump's approval on that, and we'll see, because that'll be a good increase onto the global market.
Yeah,
but it's a bit rich coming from Birol, isn't it? Birol, who has campaigned for years that oil and gas companies should start reducing their production instead of investing in more future production. Now he's telling Canada, you have a golden opportunity, but you must take it now or miss it. What does this mean? That in a few years he'll start campaigning for less oil and gas production again?
Oh, sure. I'm positive. Yeah. If he's still there. Yeah.
Well, this brings me to, this was a topic that Tammy raised in one of our email strings on Friday. We had Barack Obama and Pete Buttigieg going to Canada at the invitation, I guess, of Mark Carney to speak at an event hosted by the Center for American Progress. Canada 2020, the Canadian offshoot of the Center for American Progress, which is an organization that was created and long run by, guess who? John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's crony, John Podesta. And it was at the center of the coup effort during the first Trump presidency and the both of the impeachments. Cap has been doing a lot of bad things on the global stage for a long, long time. And how did the meeting go? Or did that happen last week, or is it happening this week, Tammy?
Right. So Obama gave a speech on Friday where he was he had a special thing that he did on Friday night, and Mark Carney went there and met with him or whatever. And then there was, on Saturday was the big meeting, and that one had Pete Buttigieg and the other people and whatnot. And that's where Carney gave the keynote at the end, where he talked about, he basically rehashed a lot of the stuff that he said at his little thing a few weeks ago, and when he was in Europe and at his Davos speech. So he keeps trotting out the same talking points. But then he said, to be resilient, we need to diversify our trade, and we'll pursue that with much strength if our attempts to further integrate with the United States and be Fortress North America don't work. I'm like, what? What is that? That's crazy. So you can watch it. Actually, I think CPAC has it. If you go to AmericanProgressAction.org, they have a link to you can watch the whole thing on YouTube, which I haven't done yet. I just kind of watch snippets because it's really hard to take all at once. And So
I didn't,
yeah.
I didn't realize Carney was making efforts to work with the Trump administration to establish Fortress America.
I know. Everybody's like, there's the huge renegotiation of the Canada, US, Mexico trade agreement, or USMCA.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been criticisms that basically nothing's happened since October. And so on the one hand, they're saying, okay, we're negotiating all this stuff, but on the other, the Americans are like, what are you talking about? You've barely done anything. So Mexico's been the adult in the room and been there and working on actual things. And there's rumors going around that Carney doesn't want to have the agreement, that they'll just let it slide, and then claim it's Trump's fault. And Canadians will go, oh, Orange Man bad, and say, oh yeah, he tried his best, but Trump is bad. So yeah, I don't know. It's like this piece I wrote a few weeks ago at Substack. It's like this Jekyll and Hyde, where on the one day he's kissing Europe's butt, and the next day it's kissing America's butt. So I don't know. Today, for example, Anita Anand, who's our foreign minister, like equivalent of Secretary of State, is in Europe, co-hosting a thing with Ukraine with the other European foreign ministers. I think, what do they call it? The Foreign Political Council or something like that. And then there was I think it was an article in Euractiv last week where they're like, oh my gosh, the Canadians are everywhere in Europe. All these bureaucrats, all these politicians in Europe, trying to do. It's an invasion, totally. And they're like, what's going on here? Why is Canada trying to do this? So yeah, I mean, it's weird. I don't understand what this schizophrenia is, but
they're looking for new friends. They're diversifying.
Sure.
Maybe they want to join the EU, Irina.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Carla said that the EU is not about geography.
We'll see. So they can join in the dance macabre you wrote about.
Yeah.
More partners, more dance partners, right?
Yeah. The more the merrier. Literally.
What else do we want to discuss today? What have I not gotten to? There has to be 1,000 things.
I think we covered a lot of topics today.
I'm not sure they were all relevant, but we've covered them.
I think this is going to be a very interesting week. You have a new Fed chair. You have an old Fed chair that's walking out at the United States that doesn't want to leave, and he is now going to
stay on the board.
Unbelievable. Then you have the potential of President Xi and President Trump meeting in China. You have President Trump declaring a victory in the Strait of Hormuz. And quite honestly, I'm kind of like Bill Murray standing there at the Strait of Hormuz and reporting on this. It's open. It's closed. It's open. It's closed. It's open.
And it is like Groundhog Day, yes.
Yeah, and the new Fed chair means absolutely nothing. They all serve the same master. Yes, I know who owns the Fed. Do you? And it ain't us. It is a privately held corporation that funnels money around the world. Oh, geez. We are getting some entertaining comments, by the way. I'm having a lot of fun. I do want to give a shout out to everybody that is being banned on the comment sections. Have a great day.
Why are you banning so many people?
Because I don't like what they're saying. And if they're absolutely, they're coming along. If you don't ban them and they make other comments that are rude, your YouTube channel gets shut down. I'm trying to protect our YouTube channels from being shut down, and Google does shut you down.
Yeah. They're like, you have to take responsibility for the comments. Like, really?
Yes.
I didn't think they were, obscene or anything.
Some of them were getting that point.
Well, I think we need to reinstate Retro Rocket because he was at least entertaining. That's my vote.
I don't know if I can. I don't
know if you can either. I don't think you can.
I don't think I can. Let me see. Yeah, I can't. So once they're banned, they're gone for this particular podcast. I'll try to remember. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just trying to make sure that filth does not come across the screen. And my apologies.
Carl Engelman has a good question there about
Carl,
insurance for freighters.
did you cover the insurance and hurricane problem that is upon us for the freighters? Well, it is. We are getting into hurricane season. That's a problem for a lot of people, including the freighters, potentially. And of course, it's projected to be, as it is every year, an above average hurricane season, because the people who do the projections don't understand if every season is above average, then the term average has no meaning. But we get that prediction every year, and most years it's proven wrong.
One thing I would like to point out is that the part of the problem with the Strait of Hormuz is the Lloyd's of London and the insurance rates that President Trump was supposedly getting Chubb involved in order to get it solved. I've heard nothing on getting that issue of getting the the UK shutting down the Strait of Hormuz through insurance rates. So, Carl, you bring up a great point, and insurance is helping choke the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no hurricanes in the Strait of Hormuz. I think
it's insurance related. Come on, work with me. I know Carl. Yes. Carl's a good dude.
So. Yeah, I mean, you've got to. I mean, obviously, the freighters need to be able to have their cargoes insured during a time of higher risk from hurricanes. And I don't, I mean, Lloyd's of London, I guess, is as much in control of that as it is in terms of oil freighters or oil tankers. So I guess there could be a big problem there. I haven't studied it. All comments, good and bad, create more viewers.
I agree, but I'm at a point in my life that I really don't care if we have bad conversation people here. It's like John Podesta should be in jail, and I really don't want to talk about that man because I don't really care.
Well,
I'd rather talk about energy.
That was my fault. Yeah, that was my fault.
Okay, so I want to add something about experts because this is a hilarious story. About a bunch of economists, experts in Canada predicted that the jobs would increase by about 10,000 in Canada for the month of April, and that overall for the quarter, in the first quarter of 2026, it would be really positive. But then Bloomberg reported that they actually fell. There were 17,700 jobs lost in the Canadian economy last month. And overall for the quarter, it was, I have to pull up the number here, 112,000 jobs lost in the first quarter of 2026 in Canada. So Carney's going on about how he's building this and investing this and so on and so forth, all this government spending, which honestly hasn't translated into anything. And he keeps saying that we're going to have the highest performing economy in the G7. Well, based on this quarter, I don't see it happening. So once again, we have experts giving expert predictions that are the absolute opposite of what actually.
So you're saying Canada's just like America, we need a better class of experts.
Yeah.
Yes. In every
Irina, sorry, I didn't
field.
hear what you said.
Did Bloomberg call it unexpected and shocking or surprising?
Unexpected.
I think they used unexpected.
They're trying to instill this perception of complete unexpectedness when everyone can see that it was not unexpected.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so people were making the argument that a lot of these economists are in alignment with the government, and so they were trying to provide this sort of positive spin. Oh yeah, the economy is going to be great, and so on. And then the numbers came in, and then it's like, oh, I guess we better rejig our calculations and so on. And it's kind of like journalism in Canada right now, where I would say 80% of it, maybe more, is funded by the federal government. So when you have that much of the media that's taking this government money, there's, whether it's intentional or not, the stories tend to not be as critical as it might be if they were independently funded.
Well, in the United States for April, our experts predicted that the economy would add about 70,000 jobs, and it actually added 178,000. So, I mean, at least I guess we could say they were right in that the number increased, but they weren't really very close.
So the jobs went from Canada to the US. Actually, that's one of the big things that a lot of businesses are just leaving. Gail knows what I'm talking about. And the thing is, there's a lot of anecdotes of companies just picking up and going. I know several of them, but how do you calculate that into what the overall numbers are when it comes to the statistics? Because the media wants to say, oh, well, it's just anecdotal, we don't know for sure. Well, this 177,000 or 112,000 job loss must be an indication of that.
Yeah. It's like all the jobs in California going to Florida and Texas. Same principle, basically.
Is it Ken Griffith? Where is that his name? From Citadel, who had shifted his headquarters from Chicago to Miami, and he still had a bunch of people in New York. And then Mamdani went outside his home and said, I'm going to tax the rich like these guys who have a second house here.
Yeah.
And so then he's like, okay, I'm going to expand Miami and close things in New York. So.
Yeah. I mean, Goldman Sachs now has more employees in Dallas than it does in New York City.
Yeah.
No, it's JP Morgan. Excuse me, not Goldman.
Is it JP Morgan?
JP Morgan. Anyway, I think we're over time here, and I'm sorry I was so disjointed with my moderation today, but you won't have to worry about me for a month now, so I'm out of the way. Thank you all for joining us. Please like and subscribe, even if you hate me, and we'll be back again next Monday, same time, same place, and I hope everyone has a great week.
Have a great one.